Tonight, Maria's direct hit devastating Puerto Rico. The emergency management director saying the entire island is destroyed. Many of these homes not built to withstand any hurricane, let alone a Category 4. Hospitals damaged, running on generator power. Officials saying many areas will be uninhabitable for weeks, maybe even months. They're urging people to shelter in place. They've issued a curfew, and the governor now saying he is launching search and rescue teams as we speak.
The year is 2017. Puerto Rico has just been hit by Hurricane Maria, people are scared, and hospitals are in chaos trying to keep up with the influx of patients coming in with injuries and needs for medications. People keep saying help is on its way, but the question of when is never answered. The government, at this point, has failed its duty of protecting its people. Months later, power is still out for many people, and the question is, exactly how much money is being spent on the relief effort? The total? $4.89 billion. Yet even so, it seems that this type of funding barely made a dent in the recovery. The reasoning behind this is due to the companies hired. Fluor Enterprises received the largest portion of this total, reaching over $1 billion. Fluor is notorious for embezzling money. They've been taken to court several times but settled outside of court. The same can be said for the two companies following Fluor, PowerSecure and Luis Berger. This means that almost half the funds were wasted, and that number doesn't include other companies that also embezzled funds. It's unknown exactly how much money was stolen from the relief effort. These numbers refer to the cost of rebuilding, but there are two parts to a relief effort. The rebuilding, which refers to structural fixes in the affected area, and there's the care. This is for people who need medical attention due to injuries, and for those who need medication for things like diabetes or in some cases cancer medication. This NPR report gives us an account from a woman named Zaida Maldonado.
Zaida Maldonado has lived most of her life in the mountains in the middle of Puerto Rico, along with her husband Luis and her two kids and their dogs. One of her kids, Javier, was born in 1999, and he was diagnosed with a rare genetic disorder called Smith-Lemli-Opitz syndrome. The only way he was able to breathe was with a ventilator, and that ventilator ran on electricity. Then comes September 2017. 2 days before Hurricane Maria is set to make landfall, Zaida says she gets a call from Puerto Rico's health department. The health official says that they should go to the local emergency room before the storm. They say if the power goes out, the ER has backup supplies, plus its own generator. So Zaida, her husband, and her two kids go to the ER, and the hurricane makes landfall. By midday, the entire island has lost power. All communication goes down. No landlines, no cell phones. Inside the ER, Zaida and her family are actually feeling okay. The generator kicks on, and there's electricity to power Javier's ventilator. But over the next few days, things start to change. Then, a few hours later, a nurse comes to Zaida and says there's a problem. The ER has to shut down the generator. If they just leave it on, it'll overheat and blow out. They can't take care of Javier anymore, and the family has to leave within about 2 hours. Zaida says, "We have to wait for my husband." But the nurse says there's no time. Zaida has a car there, but she's terrified of driving through the flooded roads. So the staff at the ER managed to call an ambulance to transfer them to a hospital the next town over. But then, the ambulance won't take them. The paramedic says that transferring patients from hospital to hospital is not an emergency. Zaida and Luis decide the safest thing is to just go home. They do not have electricity there, but they do have a generator. So now the goal of every day is to find enough diesel to keep it running. One night, Luis is checking on the ventilator, and Javier starts having convulsions. Then he stops breathing. Luis starts CPR. Several minutes go by. Did you think he could pass away in that moment?
Claro.
Yeah.
Claro. Estamos conscientes de esa situación.
We're conscious of in any moment that could happen.
Finally, Javier's lungs and heart start working again. He's alive. But Luis is just fed up. So he goes to a radio station to try to talk about Javier's story. They actually put him on. The host says, "So you've been without running water or electricity for more than 130 days?" And Luis says, "Yeah." Then the host asks how Javier is doing. Luis says, "Javier's stable. Thank God he's stable. But they need help." And his visit to the radio station actually works. It takes about a month, but a volunteer crew from a power company in Illinois helps fix the grid in their neighborhood. But of course, they know how close they came. Thousands of people did not survive the storm and its aftermath.
Cut to a few months later, and things aren't changing. People still haven't received help, and the death toll keeps climbing. What was originally thought to only be a handful of deaths has reached 3,057. But why aren't medicinal imports coming? It's due to the Jones Act, a law passed that makes it so that all imports and exports of the U.S. colony has to go through the United States and be on U.S. ships. This means that all boats have to go to the United States and have to transfer all of their goods onto another boat or change their flags, which is asinine. An example of the government's neglect is seen in Ceiba, where a large stockpile of bottled water was found on a military airbase. The number was estimated to be about 20,000 pallets of water. FEMA stated that they began to deliver water back in fall of 2017, but the distribution didn't start till May of 2018. Only 700 pallets were distributed. Surely the government could very well have realized their mistake and decided to make internal changes to make sure that they can be prepared for next time. But this notion is wrong. This is evident because on December 29th, 2019, Puerto Rico was hit by an earthquake that caused $3 billion in damage. Again, the government did next to nothing, but then people began to hear things. Lorenzo Delgado, in particular, was tipped off to a government warehouse that holds supplies. When they found this warehouse, they realized that it had been stocked since before Maria. This means that issues that arose due to the Jones Act could have been mitigated by the government. But for some reason, they decided against it. This resulted in the deaths of many people due to the government's inaction. And that is where the Puerto Rican government has failed.